Seeing as how it's 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the December 17th meeting of the Webster Township Planning Commission to order. If you please stand and join me in reciting the pledge. Willing and able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody who's come tonight. In front of you is our agenda for this evening. Anybody want to make any additions, corrections? Or, yes, okay.
I don't see the addition that we made last time, to have you talk at the beginning. Am I missing it?
That's okay. It was, I don't have much to say. I forgot about it, and then when it came out, I was like, yeah.
Okay, so you waive that then?
I waited that for a second.
Okay. We care.
Really?
We want to hear from you.
You heard, she said that.
You can amend it tonight.
It's now in the minutes. Anything else for the agenda? Seeing none, I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. Discussion. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, the agenda is approved as submitted. Thank you. Our minutes from, what is, depending on what time you thought it was, it says on the agenda November 19th, but it says on the minutes November 18th. Who would like to hazard a guess on when we actually had the meeting?
Yeah. Neither of us noticed that. Okay. Okay.
Besides me, would anybody else like to make any additions or corrections to the minutes from November 19th?
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
Second. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved from our meeting of November 19th. Public comment, would anybody like to avail themselves of the opportunity, Brad? You can't use your computer and everything, come on.
No, follow along.
Oh, okay. Anybody else? Seeing none? Move forward to the Township Planner and Zoning Administrator's report.
Me? I think from a zoning and planning perspective, not a lot are happening. Just the permits as usual. I'm working towards my year-end wrap-ups, trying to summarize what we've done so far, what needs to be done for next year, updating my task list and such. I will be taking off the last 2 weeks of December. Feels like long, but I'll only be gone for four working days during that break. So I'm trying to wrap a few things up before then. We did receive a letter from Northfield Township, a notice of distribution of their draft master plan, and for them they requested that the comments to be received by February 10th, to be within their 63 days to review the plan and submit comments. So I'll start reviewing it and provide a summary at the January meeting. And that, I think we do have the other item I wanted to share was on the agenda under discussion item. So I don't have anything else to dive into unless if there are any specific questions. I'm happy to answer.
There's these things at the end of your list, and one of them is called Public Engagement Strategy.
Right.
And so for a year, we've sort of been talking about, in general, at the township, improving our modes of communication. But we still have the website and the Facebook page. And that's pretty much it, because the email blast still doesn't work. So I'm wondering if it would be helpful, so this is something useful to the planning commission, but also to others, so before we get to the master planning, this is something we could do before then. Would it be useful, fellow commissioners, to work on, make a small team and prepare some ideas?
Definitely a question for planning commission, but I would be excited.
Is it our role, or should we wait for the board to give us some kind of guidance on what they envision our role to be in doing that, because it's a township function? And secondly, on what their expectation is of deliverable on the back end of that.
So in contrast, maybe it's the master plan we lead, and we'll use it for the master plan, and we can make a proposal, they can always change it.
I'm just hoping to make it, I would hate to get halfway down a process and have the board go, well, we really think it should be this, and we've done a bunch of work.
Could we ask the board then, say, hey, this would be useful for us. It's been a year that has sort of been on our radar. Can you give us some guidance and we'll work on it because it's useful to the planning commission?
Yep, I will do that.
Thank you.
And it has come up before, that's for sure. I apologize for going out of order, but Mr. Board Representative,
I had a question for Sri.
can I follow up on this particular topic? Timing-wise on what's on the board's agenda, when, I don't want to delay this, I'd like to get sooner as opposed to later, but the tendency of the board to not handle low-hanging fruit quickly. This seems like it could be a low-hanging fruit thing, but based on the last couple of meetings, when we say, send something very easy for them to go, yes, they don't. So what would your suggestion or recommendation be on timing for them, for you collectively, to get back to us?
I think if it's, again, if it's simple, we need to do better looking at the simple things, I think, and looking at things that can go on the agenda. I would just say get it on there.
Okay.
I would say get it on there. The point is, like, I'm gonna go into it, but the big thing that we've been having on the agenda has been the road ordinance.
Okay.
And we have a public hearing set for that. So that's kind of finally off our plate, at least for the next time.
Okay.
So I think it's a good time to.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate your guidance.
Question,
Next.
Sri, what's the status of the property at Joy and Mast? When we were here last time, they were working without.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Oh, she's got a cookie.
I know, just before I came in, I dropped them mint and.
They didn't do there.
Huh?
They haven't done
No,
it.
they haven't done it,
No,
They
so,
just land cleared.
yeah.
Chuck did go by the site a couple of times. They weren't doing anything, but they are doing things very slowly. Like last year, they cleared the brush. This year, what Chuck thought was what they're trying to do is they're digging the dirt, taking the stumps out and putting the dirt back in. So they're not changing grades or anything, but they're doing a in-depth cleaning of the site, it appears.
I think they're preparing it for construction, probably next spring would be my guess.
Oh, they haven't come to us for any
I know.
approval, so.
I know, but and there was like 2 or 3 foundations, farm foundations that were in there that I think they had to yank out too.
what Chuck described, or you described for Chuck, that's what I've seen, and I drive by there all the time. They put the dirt back, they didn't make a hole.
Right.
The somebody was, they put up an erosion barrier.
So, that's, yeah.
But on the other hand, our 100-year rain discussion in the parking lot ticked in my mind, they're downstream of that. So if we have an impermeable surface in that parking lot and it's draining toward that lot, toward the river, they're right in the middle of the wave.
They should have had a soil erosion permit for what they did.
Well,
We don't do those here.
From the
That's-
county.
That's the county.
the county, yeah.
And they seem to put a little gravel in there to drive the vehicles in there maybe, but
That's
no
part of the
pavement.
soil erosion thing.
Right, but no
Yeah.
pavement or anything.
Right.
But yeah,
Oh, when we see a plan. Thank you. Anything else for Sri? Zoning report, you have it in your packet. I don't know if there's anybody to answer any questions. It's there for informational purposes. Any questions on that you'd like me to take to Chuck? Township board report, for those of us who are there for some of the time.
Yeah, those of you that were there for some of the time, actually. Everybody was there.
Yeah, but no, it's-
Oh, that's true.
I was only there for some of the time.
I know, you were separate, we noted that. So last night, things of interest for us. There was new appointments, reappointments. Jeff Plack was reappointed to the Parks. Tom Carroll was reappointed to the Roads, and Dave Daly was appointed to the Roads Committee because we had a vacancy. So, and who do we have? And then Brian Cole, who is somebody that's in Lock Alpine, was appointed to Lawson. We had, let's see, we've set a date for the pending road ordinance for the public discussion. That's January 28th, 2026, obviously at 7. It's a Wednesday. Let's see. That also means we got through sections 4 and 5 finally. The resolution for suspending the land division applications for parcels exceeding 10 acres, that was postponed. I expect that's going to be coming though. So, and that's something that I think the board, if they haven't already directed us, that they're going to want us to look at. But Sri said we don't have any of those pending right now. So, and then they did pass for having directing you guys, and you should, I don't know if you're going to get something done or not, I would assume, to amend section 6C1 or 6CI in the public nuisance ordinance regarding keeping of animals. That's incorporating the farming exemption for animal noise.
Bit of a clarification. No, it's not coming back to Planning Commission. If you remember, the Planning Commission made a recommendation to board include that revision before they adopt.
Okay.
The board said, yes, go ahead and include that when you bring the resolution.
Right.
So when we did present that yesterday for the board, my recommendation was that it's not ready for adoption for 2 reasons, not anything related to the Planning Commission. One primary reason was that it hasn't been reviewed by the attorney yet.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure the attorney reviews it before the resolution of adoption passes through. So in the meantime, I just asked, hey, do you want to take the Planning Commission recommendation? And then they said yes. So I've included that, and then I forwarded that to the attorney for their review this afternoon.
Thank you.
I should just have her give these. That's pretty much it. I mean, we had a lot of discussion on the road stuff. There was some discussion on the fire department cost allocation too, which took a little bit of time.
So
Okay.
my understanding is the fire allocation has changed. Like, we used to pay based on runs, and now we pay something that's halvesies, or then we pay other based on runs.
It has not changed.
It has not changed,
No.
okay. So that was a proposal, but it has not changed.
So it's still on runs.
Mhm.
It is, the city of Dexter is primarily pushing, and the Dexter Township had agreed, at the fire board, they made a recommendation, which is strange, that the fire board made a recommendation with regards to it. And they are proposing, or had proposed, basically taking the cost, taking 50% off and have that evenly split between the three entities, and then have the remaining 50% cover the costs of runs. So divide that remaining 50% by the number of runs, and then whoever gets that.
But that didn't pass.
No, the board was not in favor of it,
Each
majority.
entity has a veto power,
Right.
Okay.
Everyone has to approve it.
right, all three entities. But the thing of it is Dexter City's costs will go way down, Dexter Township costs will go down, Webster will go up 100,000.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
Right, Dexter cities would have gone down the most, and to the tune of 60 or 70,000, I think. And then, and this is a rough cost, but the township, Dexter townships would have gone down about 25 to 30, around there, and then ours would have gone up about 100,000. So we would have absorbed all of their savings, is what would happen.
One more question, if that's okay. There was an additional agenda item added about legal,
Yes.
use of legal services.
Right.
And I was not able to stay that long.
Okay, so there was some discussion about, we've got several different attorneys working on different things. There was some discussion about what those attorneys, and not to get into specifics, but what those attorneys are working on. Should they share some duties, and that kind of came up with the ZBA, with the specific, meeting that they had. The attorney that was on the meeting was also one that had helped Sri make the decision that was being contested. So it comes down to, should there be different attorneys for helping with zoning, and then ones that represent the ZBA? Because there could, and it's never really, I don't remember that that's ever really happened, but the fact is that it can happen if that happened, you know, if you were in that situation. And then some other stuff, like when, costs of the attorneys, what we end up paying them, how they're used, discussing with our current attorneys, and our big main one is facials. There's been some issues with representation from there, that there's some concerns, and there was discussion on whether or not they've been approached with regards to that, and how that's been handled.
Oh, talk to them if they're short.
Yeah, like talk to the managing partners
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say, hey, what's going on? So more of a communication thing, more of a defined role, and what attorneys are used for what. We talked about having some kind of, I don't want to say procedure, but some kind of setup that differentiates how this is all handled. So, because there's been some questions on how the attorneys are being used.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Regarding the nuisance ordinance, I don't recall if we talked about lighting. Did the board take up that they want to send lighting of the nuisance ordinance to us to work on?
We didn't take it up this time.
Is that how it's happening through the board?
Supposed to.
The meeting before, the one before, the board did make a formal motion at the meeting that they wanted to send the lighting to the planning commission. So that was recorded in their board minutes that they requested the planning commission to do it. But I also indicated to the board yesterday that the planning commission would prefer to have something in writing other than the minutes before they take on a project. And so I did relay that message to the board. This was not an action item, but just a heads up to you guys. Tony made a remark at the last meeting that, the difference that the board considers sending another potential request for recommendation to planning commission that has to do with the boundary adjustment and land division standards, or differentiating those two. But that was just a comment made, and then they agreed to put that as an agenda item to make a formal request to the planning commission, so FYI,
So probably next time.
next time.
So we're waiting for a letter in writing that we're waiting for.
We're letting, yeah, what is their expectation?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's the
So can you
biggest
take,
thing,
can you take up later?
some guidance.
right,
Yeah, it's like-
when it's passed, just having the notes on specifically, we're looking for this.
Right.
Because right now, all it is would you look at lighting standards? Go.
I believe.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Rick, do you have anything you want to bring to us from the ZBA?
Well, we had a meeting, the zoning board of appeals had a meeting, but we didn't have a variance request. It was just a discussion on, discussing, talking about the application, the bylaws, and readjusting our consideration for adjusting some of that items. Do you have anything else?
Oh, then we have they have a request for the planning commission, which we can get into a little bit detail under discussion items.
Is there a draft of the ZBA minutes from December 4? I would like to see what they discussed about this topic, when it's available.
Right, no, like I said in my memo, that will be provided when you actually make that an agenda item. Today, the item was just more like, this is what they talked about, and the draft minutes are still, Martha wasn't available at that meeting, so we are, because this is our first time doing minutes without Martha, we are taking our time to review those and make them available. But they will be available by the time the planning commission.
For January?
So you have the
January
minutes
meeting.
policy, right?
What?
You have the minutes policy for the township.
We have a draft minutes out there, but those minutes didn't, yes, there is a minutes policy. I
There's a
agree.
minutes policy and there's a time limit on
8
getting
days.
out the draft minutes, yes.
8
So-
days, I agree.
Yeah.
Martha submitted the minutes within the 8 days like they're supposed to.
The December 4, she wasn't there that day.
No, the November meeting.
I'm not talking about the November meeting, I'm talking about the December 4
Oh, okay.
meeting. And she
Yes.
wasn't there, someone else took minutes, but,
Elena took minutes, she gave her draft right away. So we do have a draft that Elena submitted. She provided those draft minutes 2 days after the meeting, but that didn't capture the actual discussion. I was hoping it would capture the discussion about the text amendments. So I have the recording I wanted to listen to and add those, and I forwarded those to Joe as well to take a look at. So we do have a base that's been submitted within 8 minutes, it's just not complete.
interesting.
So,
Usually that's it. The draft can only be corrected, not changed after that, but.
okay.
Okay.
I
So
think
it's coming.
it's coming, but you did raise a good point. I think we did, with the confusion that happened around the 4th, the November meeting minutes discussion, with the whole appeal and then the timeline of it and the oversights of it. I think Tony reached out to Catherine Hopkins to provide us some guidance on, what happens when the minute policy, when we deviate from the minute policy, so we have some guidance. I'm also reviewing that. So the oversight, or whatever we want to call that, between the November and the December meetings will be fixed, and the care will be taken that Martha never skips a meeting again. I'm kidding.
Well, she's the right person, the clerk, to do
Right.
that, because we sort of report to her for our minutes activities.
Right, so care will be taken care of, that it won't repeat again in December, but the last 2 meetings were kind of unique situations. We're all trying to do our best. Stay.
Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the PBR report. I don't know if we have one, so. Does anybody provide that to anybody anymore?
So,
Don't they have
it's in the board packet, and also, of even more greater interest. I don't know if he does it every month, but Barry Lonick provides a report to consultants, and that's in the board packet, and that's very interesting.
Can we,
Was that its
As well.
cost, is,
Yeah, well, it's not his cost. It actually lists all the currently being reviewed applications, but they all have code numbers, so you can't tell whose it is.
Um,
can we get that in our report? I mean, I'm gonna ask Mike if we can get it in our packet, because
probably.
if we're not getting a report, there's nobody to give us a report, how do we know what's going on?
Right.
Yeah,
Or we
If it's
strike it
not
from our
something
agenda.
That was Weston's job.
Yeah, I was,
if it's not something you see, Donna would have it, or Elena.
and then the clerk's office may have it.
Yeah,
So I'm just curious because I wasn't there when the whole PDR report was added to the agenda. I think it was before me. It has always been there. Was it because Westman was on the PC?
Yeah,
He used to
Or
always-
was there any other, I'm trying to understand, because I know this has become a little bit of a challenge trying to coordinate that. Donna may have it. But what was the only purpose that was added because Westman was on the PC or because the planning commission would use that information for?
so we collaborated with them a lot in the master planning process. And also, sometimes they ask us for information, like the whole blue belt and the groundwater maps and the master plan. So they ask us, or they ask us to do things. So just keeping tabs on what they're doing helps us understand if we have information they might find useful.
No, that helps, thank you, because I was trying to figure out the collaboration part. Thanks for clarifying.
so to whom should I
I'll be
ask
on
it?
it. I'll work with Elena and the clerk's office to see if I can get, if it's included in the board packet, I'll try to get that for PC.
Yeah, I get it.
It is.
I don't know why we couldn't do it, okay. So we could expect that in our January packet?
Yes, you can. If board gets it, you'll get it.
Okay, Kay, natural features report?
Yes, so we prepared a sort of an announcement about Webster receiving the Washtenaw County Conservation District grant. And because we have no budget and no authority, that we gave that to the board. It was in their packet to see if they had any comments. No, you didn't talk about it. Huh? Okay.
I don't remember it.
It was like on page 113, so it was way down there. But if the board sees fit, Tony Bravant is our collaborator on this project, and then we will just put it on the website and put it on the Facebook page and all that. It describes that we got it, who our consultant is, what we're doing. So we finally got that out. We will. I went to the Parks Committee because we thought we might have information to share with them about maintenance of sort of rain gardens and natural gardens. And also, remember, we think in the Natural Features Committee we can activate volunteers, so we were talking about that. And finally, because the potential rain gardens out front and on the side are in the park's master plan. And when the Clean Streams Partnership people were here, we sort of looked at those, and so I wanted them to know, the Parks Committee, that as a partner, we can get cost-free designs for rain gardens. And so they thought, well, maybe at some point the board might want to break out those, because they're not back in the park. And then we could do those at lower cost. And then we're sharing sort of maintenance information about maintaining natural gardens. That's it.
Thank you. I have a question, and not directly related to the report, but it might be something you could shed some light on. I get through the township an email that is blocked by our server from a person named Mason at Huron Water Resources Council. And I have not passed it through for me to look at, because I don't know if it's spam or not. Do
So,
you happen to know what that is?
so I'm wondering, so they have new modes of communication. So I get emails, I get regular emails from the Watershed Council. And it, at my personal email, and it doesn't block them. But then they also do, I don't know, Instagram and other things like that. So there are real people at the Watershed Council sending out information monthly.
This is not me blocking it, it's our server that's blocking it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it asked me if I want to release it to my email or not, and I don't know what our spam policy is or how we're blocking things for security or not.
Good point. I don't know, maybe Bill would know.
Oh,
Cindy Wu.
I'll ask him.
I think I remember seeing that myself. I'll take a look into that.
It does block some stuff that it shouldn't.
Mhm.
All the lots of stuff it blocks.
Yeah.
All of it.
The MTA stuff,
Yeah.
maybe I set it up that way, but it always asks me if I want to see it.
Yeah, mine too.
Well, that's what this Mason person, but I get the Huron Watershed Council regular email in my, I'm directed to other folder. But this one is stuck somewhere back here.
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, is it Marco MM?
Is it Marco or Mason?
I have one from Marco MM I just released recently. That's just their periodic newsletters they send out.
Oh,
If
so
it's
it is
from-
legit?
Yeah, it is legit. If it's Marco MM at hrwc.org, it's legit.
It's, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Good, solved.
Oh, well, that brings up a broader question then, because you mentioned it, but should we collectively, or is it something that Bill should be looking at generally on what we're getting and not getting? I mean, I don't even know how I got on that email list, but I guess by virtue of my station, but, but you're seeing it too, right, Julie? Paul, are you seeing it?
You can unsubscribe.
Yeah,
From
at
any
the
of
bottom,
those things.
yeah. you can unsubscribe.
I get that, but I mean,
How they get you, I don't know.
yeah.
Probably just went off the township.
Well, but
Probably got a
that's why I
township
asked
list.
Paul, because Julie's on, and I get it, but, or it's stuck in our, do you want to release this? Paul's not seeing it though. And he's been on this a lot longer than Julie and me.
Tom, if I may excuse myself for 2 minutes, I want to go grab some printouts.
Sure.
Before we
Paul,
talk
do you
to-
check your block?
Well, I will now.
Because he might be getting them, he just doesn't
Well,
know.
it's our outlook, our township outlook.
I know what it is, yeah.
So I did not put you on the list. You know I'm the Watershed
just love
Council
those-
board
I
member.
just love those things because this is from a mailing list, thank you very much.
I think you get like that block thing and there can be multiples underneath
Yes,
that.
there
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, I got to where, I was wondering why I wasn't getting the Lhasa ones, and then I started checking that, and I'm like, oh, there they are.
And you can release them forever. You can, the two options are, do you want to just see that one? Do you want to like allow this person through?
From now on.
From
I
now
didn't
on.
realize that.
And it's down from, it's teeny weeny down at the bottom on your mail thing. It's like, you gotta look there to find it. I'm still gonna ask Sinkhole. I mean, I think it's worth all of us knowing what's going
Yeah.
on with our
Yeah,
mail server.
Yeah.
Does anybody know why he's growing a beard after hunting season?
It's winter. It's the holiday season.
Yeah, but in Ipsy, come on.
It's still winter in Ipsy.
No, it's 3 degrees warmer there. I was there today. 3 degrees warmer in Ipsy than it was here.
It's warm today. What are we waiting for street one?
She has printouts for her next topic.
She does?
Public hearing.
Yeah. No, I mean, 14A,
Business.
because there is no public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
We said our next thing,
Yeah.
we didn't move on.
The memo I provided for the FAR,
Ah,
I attempted to make it, to talk about the purpose of the amendment and the master plan alignment. he made some constructive recommendations so that it captures the intent from the last discussion better. So this is just the updated.
So this is the new 17 of 92?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
I think this is a classic, this is a good example of saying that, when you look at the amendment, it's the shortest amendment you've ever made, but the longest discussion behind it. It shows how committed you are to making any change.
Why don't we do our job then? Okay, on to the next topic, which is old business, draft discussion of the public hearing and setting a public hearing for section 9.15. The intent is to look at FAR for non-conforming lots, which is 25 ZPA 04. As you know, like Sri said, we've been through this multiple times. So, I want to take a minute and look at the revised.
I do want to clarify, the revisions are just to the memo and the intent. The draft amendment stays the same, it's just that one line.
Yeah. So we said that we were gonna embrace what the planning commission thinks is the intent of this ordinance revision, so that we can put that in a motion
Right.
and put that in our minutes. And under purpose, do you think that last paragraph is enough to say the purpose?
Yes.
So we made a small revision there together, and then for the master plan alignment, there's a short, the blue with the black sentence under it is our revisions that we made together yesterday. It's for the planning commission to consider embracing.
Purpose on
This
page 2.
here, this is, the purpose is now, under purpose of the amendment, there's some
I got it.
visuals, and then there's a short paragraph that has black, red, and blue in it. That's it. Starting with these values and ending with in the R1 district. And then the master plan alignment has blue and black in it down at the bottom. And it's 2 sentences.
And then I also revised the draft motion to capture what both is.
So it's included there. Where's the draft motion?
Yeah, on the motion for public hearing, isn't that the board meeting date?
Yeah.
I mean, we could have it that night, it might surprise them, but
Go crash their meeting?
yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so it's the 21st.
21st, yes.
I'm getting ahead of it a little bit, but I'm gonna do it, Julie. On page 19, the number ordering, since number 4 has been eliminated, needs to be corrected from there down.
Okay, with that formatting correction, the draft presented is acceptable. You have a draft motion available.
I did have one question.
Mm-hmm.
In the memo, just about the draft motion, so earlier we say after extensive discussion, which you acknowledged. I thought this statement to say the broader discussion of evaluating LC and FAR across all zoning districts,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was before we went in and did all that research and all that talk. So my question is just, is this still relevant?
I thought it was because we were gonna just take a look at it, not just ag and R1, we were gonna take a look at it for BLLR, which doesn't have FAR restrictions right now.
Okay,
So just so that we don't lose sight of it when we go back, I thought.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We may, like you said, we may discuss it at that moment and think nothing needs to be changed, but just,
Let's add it to the list.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to discuss, comment on? Would anybody like to make a motion? Okay.
I would. In the matter of, I'm reading it, by the way, from Shree's memo,
You can just read them.
of 25 ZTA 04, I move to schedule a public hearing on January 21st, 2026 to gather public input on the proposed text amendment to section 9.15 of Articles 9 of the Webster Township zoning ordinance. This motion is based on the draft presented at tonight's meeting with the modification discussed. The purpose of this amendment is to align the FAR and LC values for non-conforming lots in the R1 district.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, Julie?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried.
He pointed at me, aye.
You're sitting so close together
No,
now, I can't.
You made eye contact.
Thank you, commissioners. It's only because we had her head down. New business.
She was buried in her motion.
Pardon me?
She was buried in her motion.
There you go. We have before us tonight a rather large packet of information for the Historic Society that's been before us before. And if you'll recall, the background was that they won a special land use over here to accomplish some things for events and so forth. Yes, sir.
I'm on the board for the Historical Society, so I should recruit myself in this discussion.
I was going to ask that next. If I said what I was going to say, but since you brought it up early, would anybody like to recuse himself from this proceeding? Because I feel they have a conflict of interest. Rick does. Anybody else? No. Thank you. I'll get back to my comment. So as a result, Sri had put together a spreadsheet asking Dita and her group to fill it out so that we could look at that special use and see if all the questions had been answered, so we can move forward on the discussion. I know it's been a challenge to get some of that stuff apparently, because I've been in touch with Sri relatively frequently. So where we stand, as far as I know,
Can
we
you
still
answer that
hold
question?
on.
Oh, okay.
You'll be called at some point. As far as I know, not all the conditions have been met. Would you like to speak to that?
Okay, so the reason
Please
why,
step to the microphone and name, please
Oh,
state your
sure.
name. Thank you.
My name is Dita Albert. I am the president of the Webster Township Historical Society. The reason why we didn't answer those questions, because we, after just recently received the original minutes of the time where some of these things, the archaeological park was put in place 10 years ago. There were not very many clarifications within it, nor was there certain questions which were at the end of the page 49 in your document, whether it was not stated when the board voted on giving this designation, whether this was just for the corn crib, whether it was for the village, was it included for inside events, outside events? I asked that when we met, what constitutes as programs or events, but then I didn't get anything, but after looking it up, I realized anything can be an event. So there were several issues that came up with it. Before, we were under the impression that the archaeological park pertained to both of the parcels. After doing further research and looking at the minutes, the board actually only assigned this to the grounds. So because of these clarifications, and not knowing exactly what was asked of me, I couldn't say exactly, and I couldn't fill it out until I had these answers given to me. So, for instance, if you look at the application that is on page 50, this was all just asking for applications for a special use permit to build a corn crib. The other application that was created the same day was for asking for the archaeological park permit or special use. In this application, it did state that it was for the 5583 Webster Church Road, but it also included the parcel at 5521 Webster Church Road, which is the crossroads. On September 15th, on page 67, if you look at the special land use permit for archaeological park for 2 parcels, it says 2 parcels, but the approval was only given to 5583 Webster Church Road as the special use with 3 events, and this only applies to musical events. So that was confusing because we have more events.
Right, so let me ask a question.
Sure.
Number one, what are you asking us to do?
So what
Because, hold on,
Sure.
because what happened in 2015 is not what was asked to proceed here in 2025. I understand the board made some decisions back then, but we need clarification on what you want, which is the purpose
Right.
of that form. What happened in 2015 is behind us.
True. But as far as the permissible uses according to the ordinances and according to what is permissible under both zonings, we still are not sure whether we are to include. We did not know at that.
Write down your wish list. The more you put down, the more we can say yes, no, we'll take it to the board for a special use. But until we know that information, we can't go anywhere.
So would you recommend that we would write clarification on what goes where? Should we make a decision whether the crossroads should be part of this or not?
The more you provide what your wish list is, the more the better. Because as we have pieces of the puzzle that are missing, we don't know that. And so, just like the board did back then, if we say, well, you can have purple chairs, but you can't have blue ones, and 20 minutes from now, somebody comes in with a blue chair, they can't sit at the table.
Right.
The more of your wish list that you can provide, here's what we anticipate, this. Yes, there will be acceptance. I'm sure something will come up that has not been anticipated, but we need information.
Okay,
And there are big holes in that spreadsheet that don't have anything in them. I mean,
right,
except for your name
because
and
I
address.
didn't, so I guess the question that I have, Surrey had a recommendation on, you did a review of these on the crossroads, and I wanted to kind of address it with you guys maybe next time to take crossroads off the table and just focus on the grounds for the events. And that was kind of the main issue with filling out the form, because if all events are events, at Crossroads, our board meetings are events, so we have like 50,000 events, you know, which are inside the building, of course, not outside. So,
Well, I think the
that's
discussion-
why
the discussion is public events, is what the concern is, not board meetings. So if you're, you know, because for public events, you're gonna have a fire, you're gonna have a cookout, you might have an alcohol request, you might have a wedding. That's where it's focusing, not on 20,000 meetings that the guys are having coffee with on Monday morning. You know?
yeah, no, or men's
No,
Monday.
I'm
or-
overstating the case to make the point.
Oh, okay.
So I heartily recommend, just sit with your board, make a list, and say, this is what we anticipate.
Mhm.
Put it even as an addendum to the form. If you don't want to fill out, if it doesn't fit a little square, make a bigger square.
Right.
Well, I mean, seriously, the more, you've been to enough of our meetings.
Sure.
A special use permit has certain requirements. It's Article 10, special uses.
Yep.
And right now, there are 4 little green yeses and a whole bunch of, we don't have this information. I mean, there's even.
So, actually, I was not given this until today and just
Okay.
recently. That was not given to me.
Well,
And when I
but-
presented, I sat with Suri, and she told me what was needed, and I provided what I was asked for. So it's
well,
not,
You have, because we don't, because the spreadsheet still isn't filled out.
but I was never given the spreadsheet. Until, not the spreadsheet, I'm sorry, this piece of paper until today.
Well, the spreadsheet is based on this, so.
Well, I do understand that, but what I'm saying, I guess my question is, Suri, can you speak on Crossroads, if you don't mind, just
Sure.
go ahead.
Okay, I don't think they can make a determination on that one, but I can provide the context you want me to provide.
Yes.
Okay, so what Nita's trying to say, I don't know the goal, but what she's trying to say is that when the original special use permit was reviewed and approved by the board, the request was supposed to be just for the village, the grounds. The application only specified grounds in the application, but through the process at some point, somehow the village, the Crossroads was also kind of included in, included out here and there. So that kind of puts that, you know, into the question whether is that part of the special land use, or is the legal nonconformity remains for the Crossroads. So that's one I pointed out in the memo, but at the same time, I think that may also require a little bit of legal advice as how to, you know, retain the legal non-conforming status. But that was included in here as a context, so when you do review the special use permit request, so that you can focus on whether you're looking at the special use just for the grounds, or is it for the grounds and the Crossroads?
Right.
So that was one of the
So
questions.
there's confusion on the grounds versus
The
the
Crossroads.
crossroads.
Right.
So you're going to check with our lawyers and see if that's mutually exclusive or included in that
Yes.
as a whole. Okay. Does that help you?
Tremendously, because, you know, when we looking at the uses for events and any activities that happen in the grounds, those are pretty simple and limited. You know, when the Crossroads that, you know, is our office, it's everything, it's used every day. Sometimes it's used for special events, but it's all interior. This will help clarify it and make it easier to know what to ask for.
Sure.
In, also knowing whether this should be just for, you know, whatever happens inside the buildings, or whether it's just bigger events that happen on the outside. That's the other clarification that I would really like.
have another suggestion. I'd like to speed this up for you as much as possible.
Thank you.
What would you folks think of having, I mean, the three of us have met before,
Yes.
but adding another person to a working committee to just hammer through this stuff, once we get the feedback from the lawyer.
Can we tonight just offer our thoughts on what is needed?
Well, but we don't know the overlaying thing, the umbrella is,
I think, so regardless of whether you include crossroads or not, we can still say, we need more details, and we need
Oh, but
this
that's-
spreadsheet filled out.
and that's been, but
For
that's
sure.
been, that's where she's looking for clarification.
Right.
Because of the ambiguity.
But once that's clarified, we need this filled out.
Correct.
And it should be clear whether it's indoor or outdoor, what
Right.
kind of activity it
Right.
is, and we need all those details.
And I
Will
think that's,
will the attorney be able to specify that?
A point of clarification, if I may.
Sure.
I think the working committee sounds very helpful, but a word of caution, I need to look into it. I'm used to working committees for text amendments because they're policy-based decisions. I'm not used to, or I've heard of working committee for special use because it's something that needs to be discussed on a public forum. So I would be cautious to make any decisions tonight based on that, unless,
I'm not saying make decisions today.
like creating a groups.
I'm suggesting having a working group, whatever we want to call it, sit in a room and in an hour, hammer through that thing.
Right, that's exactly what I'm pointing at.
That's what she's saying, it's not Open Meetings Act, it's not public forum then.
But
I know that it's still going to come back to us anyway for public forum.
But
I'm not quite
if
sure.
the three of you do that, then.
I'm not quite sure because it involves a special use, which is more of a discretionary, that,
Is
But-
that something our lawyer needs to say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the answer, but I just feel like I wanted to point out the red flag. I just don't know the answer.
Would you
The
check
lawyer
on
might come back and say, yeah, you can have it, no problem. But I just wanted to point out that I'm not quite sure how the working committee works in the context of special
I'm not
use.
saying a bunch of people, and I'm not saying having, I'm just saying a couple people sit in a room and work with her and fill out the forms.
Yes, I am referring to a couple of people.
And then,
But can you and Sri and Dee do that?
We
'Cause
can.
You're already
We
defined for
can.
that.
We can, but adding another member, creating
Mhm.
that, I don't know. I
would
don't
you
know.
please check into that? Let
Yes,
me know,
I will
and then
check that.
we can set a date and.
I would
and
really like
if-
to do
If it's
that.
possible, we'll just, if it's legally possible, we'll sit down and just fill in the form.
And make all the clarification and stuff
Yeah.
that would make sense to bring before you all.
Then it'll come back and then we can act on it collectively.
Okay, and is there a possibility that the commissioners can, if you have any specific questions or concerns, can you kind of let us know what that is?
That's what the purpose of this is.
Okay,
Well, and also the purpose of these meetings
Right,
is for
right.
us to do it in a public forum.
But we're, right now, my feeling is, and I don't know about the rest of you, I feel we're sort of still working in the ether. So
Yes.
there's all these things floating around, and something lands here and something lands there, and I don't feel comfortable being in a position to do anything tonight beyond working to get something
Yeah.
down, to bring back to us.
Yeah, I do have a request for additional information. So
Please.
if there's a time. So I think the way we evaluate lighting and 13,200, we need a site plan that identifies all the lights and that evaluates those lights against 13.20. It doesn't have to be a fancy site plan, they can take the one they had 10 years ago. If there's been additional lights, mark them on there and give us this information. I think we need that as a baseline to understand the lighting. And also, if we usually have a development agreement, so we need that as a baseline for that. And it doesn't, again, it doesn't have to be fancy, it should be focused on lighting. So we can evaluate 13.20 and also the standards in our special land use, Article 10.
Anyway, so just to my understanding, that this special event permit that we are working on is all of that, part of that? The lighting issue, not that there is an issue, but just a question, because we're just asking to identify programs inside or outside, but let's say certain programs that will run, you know, during the evening, there's lighting that's for safety purposes. Would that lighting also need to be identified?
All lighting would have
Yes.
to be identified.
Okay, that's not a
All
problem.
lighting.
So we typically evaluate traffic, lighting, noise, impacts on the environment, impacts on the neighborhood. These are in the standards. And we do that based on our zoning ordinances, and we need details to do that.
Now, in the original application, there was a lot of answers to those questions. Which one did you feel was not good enough or needed, what kind of explanation more? What more did you need?
I consider the past to be sort of lessons learned, what should we look at, but we need an
I just
application.
mean our recent application.
So there's not enough detail. So your application is a nice introduction, but the detail we need is this, is in this spreadsheet. And then the lighting, we don't know what lights you have. So we need a site plan with the lights identified, and then in zoning ordinance 13.200, you evaluate what kind of lights are they, and are they consistent with our zoning ordinance?
Sure.
And then
Okay.
we have that as a baseline.
That was attached to the spreadsheet that I'm supposed to fill in?
No, it's an additional request that I'm making. You said, can you tell us what you think we need?
Sure.
So I think we need this, and
I can-
a site plan focused on lighting. This is
That's the
tree spreadsheet.
that Sri had put together.
You and I worked together, remember?
No, is that on there?
No, this is an additional
So
request.
that's what I need a copy of that so I know what's required.
Dita, that's the one we worked together, right? I emailed you the spreadsheet.
I got the spreadsheet.
That's
She's
the- no,
saying
The
that's not
site
on there.
plan,
Oh, the site plan.
so
Yeah.
Yes.
Sri knows what this is. It's in our zoning ordinance. It says that the planning commission can request a less detailed site plan in accordance with this zoning, with this ordinance for our special use standards. So she knows what this is. She
Oh,
can help you.
You email it to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom, if I may, I just wanted to clarify one point on record, because Dita said something on record.
Sure.
That she was just, I gave her what's missing right before the meeting.
Mhm.
I gave her what's missing in this format right before the meeting, but I've been trying to communicate with Dita since January what's needed for the application. Everything that's pointed out, which is in writing that I was going over with her, has been explained in different formats and during different meetings. Like, we talked about letter of authorization. I understand the goal of keeping the meeting short, but the reason why I'm here is because I needed some extra support from Planning Commission in trying to communicate certain information to the applicant. Like the letter of authorization, one is required when the applicant is not the property owner. We need some kind of, something that says that she's authorized to represent the board as a whole. We ask for similar things when a property is on a trust or an LLC, we say, give us something that shows you are the authorized person.
Sure.
A copy of the board minutes was included in the packet, and I needed some assistance to help me figure out, is that sufficient, or do you require like a letter that's signed by all the board, or a copy of the bylaws? I need some guidance from the planning commission to tell the applicant what exactly.
Right, because,
let me see.
That's exactly back to my point earlier. The more you can provide, the better.
well,
So
I was
it's-
asked, and
So
I
that letter of
was,
authorization is required.
so basically, I was told by John Sharp, I said, what kind of proof do you need? And he says, just board minutes would be sufficient, and that's what we provided.
But John Sharp is not this body.
I get it.
So don't use John Sharp as a source.
I asked Cherie if that's sufficient,
Yeah.
and she said she needed your advice to see what format would be
We
the best.
need that letter of authorization.
So would,
So you're the legal representative of this group, wherever it is.
okay, and so who needs to sign it? Does it have to be a vote? Do you have a copy?
That's up to your board. No, your board does that.
The Historical Society Board.
Board.
Yeah,
You
I
need to
understand,
authorize.
but do you have a specific format that you
I
want?
have a letter of authorization form, I can give it to you, you can have all your members sign it.
Okay, that's right.
And then I think I also asked for some guidance with regards to the site plan in my memo too, as you know, what level of detail that may be required. Tom, you and I talked to Dita during pre-application meeting, but
Right.
then we're here. So I like the guide, you know, the request that, you know, from what Kay suggested, that I want to see what lighting you have. So if there's anything, I know if a working committee is a possibility, we will get down to details in that committee, but I just wanted a high-level recommendation, guidance from planning commission tonight. Is there anything else in the site plan the board would like to see?
Well,
I mean, the commission would like
I
to
mean,
see.
I have thoughts. Go
I
ahead.
just have a question. Dita, do you actually have exterior lights?
We do, not many.
Is there, yeah, I didn't even think there were. that
Well,
many.
there is one over the town hall, which has been there forever. There is light at the crossroads, and that actually just is motion activated all
Sure,
around.
on
That has
Crossroads.
been there forever. There is light, just a single light over the schoolhouse and over the blacksmith shop and corn crib.
And
Just a single light for security and safety.
were those always there, or did you put,
No, we added the lights, but they're all conforming, night sky conforming lights.
when did you add?
This summer, we added at the schoolhouse, last year at the blacksmith shop, and one just recently.
So this should be easy then?
Yeah,
Because there's not many
Yeah,
lights
and,
to
you know,
identify.
and a hand-drawn, nicely hand-drawn with locations and
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 the
park-
type,
the
yeah,
parking
that's not a
lot.
problem.
Yeah.
parking lot. The issue as I see it is public events.
Okay.
That's the overall issue. You brought up a good point. If they have certain lights, are they adequate for a public event? Is there gonna be a requirement that more lights be installed? If there's a current parking area and you're saying how many people are gonna come there, is there a limit on how many people can have the event there? And if they do,
Yes.
you have adequate parking and sanitary facilities. I mean, this could be a real, much larger issue on your end than it is on our end, just to conform to a land use.
Yes, so basically, we do have one on-site toilet, or whatever, I don't know what you call it, it's just
I
like,
understand that, but in the forms, and when we start going through stuff, that's the
That's
kind of-
helpful to me.
Yeah, that's the safety stuff that, like you say, you have a light in the blacksmith shop, but if you're gonna have 50 people walking around in the dark at a wedding, and I don't know the last wedding you've been to, but most of them were not dry. And some kids decide to come out here and play around the Corn River, climb some, hayloft in the back, and you don't have lighting there, and they fall off like yikes. So it gets, again, back to the more you can provide, here's what the maximum, it's a question we'll probably have, what is the maximum number of people that you would have at any event or allow? Because then you're gonna back into questions of parking, sanitary, lighting.
Mhm.
And this referred, I mean, reading through this whole thing, a lot of times it referred to, what's allowed for the building code or whatever.
Yeah.
What is that number?
oh, I see what you're
mean,
saying.
we,
Okay.
I see what they're saying, we won't go higher than what the building code says.
But you
What-
want the specifics.
What is that number? What is the number for
Okay,
fire
I
lights?
gotcha.
What is the number that you're talking about?
Mhm.
Therefore, I mean, if you're gonna say, okay, we wanna have a thing at Crossroads, we want 50 people there,
Mhm.
and you can't have 50 people in it, you know what I mean, those kind
Oh,
of
I
things.
get you. So you want specific numbers?
Well,
Right.
ADA,
Which is not right.
ADA compliance.
Well, especially with that, like, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, this is probably, there's two different types of uses here that if you want to break them apart, there's two different types of things that you're gonna be looking at, but we need information on all of it.
Oh,
So, and you say you have a toilet, is it accessible by wheelchair?
yes.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm just saying that.
No,
It's a-
no.
I wasn't looking for an answer. I was just throwing out things
Right,
to,
so make sure that it's compliant
Yeah.
with everything.
because, we went through the ramp last year, was it last year? It was the year before, was the ramp? Are there other buildings that are gonna be affected by that? For public,
Yeah, all
again,
our-
public events.
Yeah, so we are wheelchair accessible in all the buildings except Rick just put in one into the schoolhouse, a ramp. And we have to figure out, going into the blacksmith shop, there's like a lip, so we're gonna try to figure out how to make it accessible, but all of the buildings are wheelchair accessible, pretty much. But, as you said, you just need to know that.
Well, it's the umbrella of public use, and all of a sudden that brings to mind any number of issues, not issues, things that need to be addressed in the
To
application.
make sure. Okay, and I do actually have a question. These lights are only used when we do something in the evening. We don't keep them on. So as you mentioned, if somebody goes over there, trips and falls, my concern is that then should we close that off? Because we can't possibly, control, because it's open walkway, people walk
No,
their
but
dogs.
you're gonna schedule an event there, you're gonna say we can have a wedding reception. That's different than at night with somebody walking over
I
there.
would probably refrain from using the word wedding or reception because neither
Yes.
of them are permitted at this.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's say Christmas in lights, let's use those examples.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
In event.
An event.
An event,
event.
yeah.
A public event. Thank you.
So anyway,
Okay, so,
we'll wait to hear from the lawyer,
Yeah.
I'll wait to hear from her. We'll get together if we can, if we can't. we'll figure out a way
hopefully in
to-
January.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I have the guidance I was hoping for. There was one thing I've also been suggesting, Dita, I don't know if you recall, you might say, I've been suggesting, I know that. You know how, I've also said that to LaFontaine and the church folks too, we have the standards of burden review the planning commission has to go through. I always tell the applicants that you answer each of this review and say how you met, how you complied, tell your story to convince the planning commission
Yes.
how you met those.
Right.
And then provide the supporting documentation to support
Right.
what your statements is that would help you guys, right? So then I can insist on it, emphasize on it, make sure I get that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
As you said, that's what we've done for other special land uses.
Right.
Right,
Yes.
great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anything else on that topic before we move on?
I think I may also have to figure out, go to the board or figure something out what to do with the escrow. When the initial review fee of $400 was waived by the board, that was just supposed to cover the initial review, and I think we're past that now.
Okay.
And then it might require some attorney reviews, it might require more coming back to PC, the meeting fees and all, a notice in the paper. So I just need to go back to the board and see what their intent is.
Do you think they'll make a decision on that sooner as opposed to later?
On what? Sorry.
Oh, he missed it. Escrow.
Escrow, the board only waived $400, that covers the initial review, and we are way past that.
There's also an escrow.
Yeah.
There's an escrow requirement for
Oh,
special.
for this?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know what they're gonna do, I mean, that's gotta come to us.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that I'll have to take.
They
Tell them
have
to
to
get
decide.
It will come to you if the Historic Society requests a waiver again.
Okay.
Don't you just love coming to our meetings?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're so much fun.
I can't answer that. but-
Okay. The discussion items,
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Zoning Board of Appeals, request for text amendments, whose discussion item is it yours? or
Mine,
ours, or-
mine. I put it forward. Rick's back from recusal.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
He zoned out and then now he's back.
Was that a pun?
No, it was not intended,
Well,
but.
it was good though, we zoned out.
We zoned out. No. I know we talked about the minutes at the beginning of the meeting. I apologize for not including them, but I was at the meeting taking notes profusely, so I think I can summarize a part of the discussion. So there were two discussions happened with regards to if there are any text amendments that the Zoning Board of Appeals may want the Planning Commission to consider. So the first one was the non-conforming structure expansions, whether it should be amended to allow them to be addressed administratively. At the beginning of the meeting, when it came to the PC said, the zoning board give us a little bit more specific direction on it. And then the ZBA decided, let's look at what kind of request we get over the year. At the end of the year, let's see if we want one again or not. So end of the year, they looked at it. They had only 4 non-conforming expansion requests, which all they approved. And then because the request is not high alarming numbers, they decided that they're going to continue to keep an eye on it. An amendment is not warranted at this point. So they'll keep the discussion ongoing, they'll keep track of that. So that's not requested at this time. The second one, this is not based on ZBA requests or anything, so there's not, like quantifying data supporting that information. This is purely asking you guys to help the ZBA with their procedural report, with their duties as ZBA members and then the procedural requirements, which is kind of, trying to be more consistent with the Enabling Act and all that. If you remember, regarding, as part of the recent appeal discussion, they were having, the zoning ordinance doesn't provide much guidance about who's an aggrieved party, how to determine an aggrieved party, who can appeal, what are the parameters, what's the test for who can appeal and such like that. And then the ordinance also doesn't provide what are the standards of review or the findings of facts they have to make when they're considering an appeal. So that's one. And then 2, they've looked at, might be a number 1 or 2 off, but they have looked at about 13 dimensional variance requests in 2025. They postponed 3, they denied 2, they approved 7. I just prepared an extensive summary. I'll email it to you all. I'll include it in the next packet too. So throughout all that discussion, they constantly struggle with some of the standards of review because the language in that had 2 statements in it, or 2 questions put together, or they weren't quite clear, or they just were hoping if the Planning Commission looks at it and then also looks at the Planning and Zoning Enabling Act, and then provide them a little bit revised or simplified standards of review that can be understood by them, by the applicants, and keeps their discussions more refined and focused. So for that one, I also recommend that is very much needed because that's what they rely on almost at every meeting. And this is a standalone recommendation. It has nothing to do with master plan or number of cases. It is something that's they need to be able to make better decisions. They need to be able to explain to their applicants what is expected of them so that they can make consistent decisions. So that is a request from them to help you to look at Article 6 and help them with their roles and responsibilities, the decisions they need to make.
Does this integrate with B, the land division ordinance?
No.
Okay.
So that one was just a recommendation they made to the board, and then the board's gonna talk about it and then give you guidance on that.
Oh, okay. But that did not make it at the December 16th meeting. Okay, so we're still awaiting that.
It was on there, but it got postponed until
Postponed.
January.
Yeah.
So that'll be on our January agenda.
Yeah, depending on, yeah, but it probably more be like an update on the January agenda, because the board will be talking about it the night before,
Okay.
but it will be a discussion item or a new business at February meeting.
Okay. Rick, is there anything, I had a couple notes that I made. Does anybody else want to make a note on a couple of the trees? Because I have some, but go ahead.
I have two questions. One, did the ZBA make a list of priorities? So they're listed here, 1, 2, 3. Are these your priorities, or if they didn't, could they? Because we won't work on all these all at the same time, right? So we would probably start with one and the other. Could you comment about priorities from the ZBA?
The ZBA didn't talk about that in detail because they were looking at comprehensive Article 6 need to be, like if you wanted to break down Article 6 individually, that's definitely, planning commission's prerogative if you wanted to, look at it in its entirety, or if you want to do it one at a time, like, variance standards of review at a time, appeals at a time. That's definitely something the planning commission may talk about it. I can take the question back to ZBA at their January meeting, but my dimension variance is definitely their big.
It sounded like that was a big
That's a big one.
priority, and maybe if we got that done, the other two could be done as a separate challenge.
Yes,
So I would just want to understand if that was okay with them.
I can't speak for them, but I'm pretty sure it would be okay with them, because that's their, like I said, 11. Right.
Okay.
And then my other question is about, you said that there was some discussion about creating a working team
Yes.
that would be a combination of ZBA and
Yes.
PC. And my comment would be, shouldn't Rick be a part of that since he's our ZBA
Well, yeah.
planning commission
Rick's a
member?
given.
And was it to add another person?
Yes.
Okay, but Rick would be part of it?
Yes. I would recommend that, just because, they are the ones who will be applying those standards on a larger basis. And then if you have two representatives from the ZBA on the working committee, they can explain to you what exact challenge they have, with each of it. If I can, I may want to recommend to include the secretary in that working committee, if plan commission sees.
That secretary?
Oh, no,
Or that
the
secretary?
ZBA secretary, because
ZBA.
he's also the one that will be writing the decision forms and then, taking notes and doing that, and then he himself is an attorney, and he captured the confusion the ZBA had with the standards of review.
Can I make a request that I'd like to see those minutes before
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
we take another step?
Sure.
Yeah, so before we say we're going to consider this, I would like to have the minutes available, and so we can ask Rick too for any
Yeah.
clarifications
Yep.
based on what we see there.
That's totally fine, that was the intent. I just wanted to introduce you, give you an update of the meeting,
Thank you.
and then in the meantime, I think we have a meeting scheduled on Jan 12th at the ZBA. I will check with them to see if, Joe would be interested to be on the committee, and then you guys can decide the next meeting.
It's January 12th.
Right.
I think the standards of review are basically cut straight out of the Michigan zone.
That's what I thought too.
I mean,
Not entirely.
And that's what makes it so confusing, because it's kind of legalese.
It is legalese, but they're not exact, I'll go back and check, but the Michigan Enabling Act doesn't have that many, but it kind of gives you
Yeah.
4 or 5, and then we took those and then we broke them down.
So you think we have leeway to change the wording?
We have leeway to change the wording as long as we don't miss out on the intent or the purpose.
Would you
No.
please invite me to that meeting?
The 12th one?
Yes.
They won't be talking about this, but I'll just propose the working committee idea.
No, I get it.
Right. And then the recommendation was also from the attorney as well, that the standards of review can be amended. There is scope for those to be amended, so.
I have a question on this list just generally.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's something I don't think we should be taking up, if that's a definition of an aggrieved person. We're not in a position to set that definition. I think that should go to the lawyer before it comes back to us to fit it into our little.
Well, that's a good idea, get a draft from the lawyer and then.
Well, yeah, I mean, who are we to say what an aggrieved
Yeah,
person
that's
is?
a good idea.
I don't, and I spoke in that meeting at the end of it. Some of the stuff that they asked for, aggrieved is one of them. What was the other one that we were talking about? Bias, because they wanted a definition of bias too. And it's like, it's really subjective. And so is aggrieved, and, there are terminologies that are subjective that I don't know that can have a quantitative statement put on it. I mean, that kind of thing. I don't know if there's a definition.
Well, and that's my question, because to me, a word like aggrieved is conditional depending on circumstances.
Right.
So to provide a general description of that is very difficult. On the other hand, it leaves open the possibility that we're in court more than we want to, because you say you're aggrieved and you say you're not.
Yeah.
And she's in the middle, and it's like, now you're relying on a judge to say who's aggrieved in a situation. So, you know, where do you put that balance?
Another case in point, especially for ZBA, is hardship.
Oh, yeah.
What's the definition of hardship? And again, it's subjective.
Well, yes, but, what's the group that meets with the, people in the taxes every year?
Board review.
Board review. They handle that such hardship with a definite set of rules. Should we go that step?
I'd be interested to see what they have for rules for that.
I just wanted to,
I've attended a couple of those meetings, and they have a, sort of like our standards of review. And they go down it, they will make an exception, but it has to meet those criteria first.
I wouldn't, just like any text amendment discussion, we will bring you a draft for you to consider, and then the definitions for aggrieved obviously will come from the attorney.
Sure.
We do have, we kind of tackled the aggrieved definition in the private road ordinance we talked about last night. It will be similar to that. We can define aggrieved in the zoning ordinance, that's not uncommon. But the bias is something that will be addressed in the bylaws, not in the zoning ordinance.
Right.
Because bias is something they have to figure out how to address
I
it.
was just talking.
So that's not even something that planning commission has been requested.
That was just an example, sure,
Right.
not something we're gonna.
Oh, yeah, and hardship, we wouldn't tackle that definition. We're gonna just ZBA deal with that.
Rick just got another gray hair out of that one.
So, okay, at the next meeting, I'll just bring back the draft minutes and some guidance on the ZBA regarding the working committee, their interest, and then priorities.
Priorities.
And then then the planning commission can tell me, create a working committee, and then
See
we'll
what happens.
take it from there.
Thank you. Good discussion. So, have we touched on anything?
None of the planning commissioners remember the last time we changed those standards of review.
So they're number 4.
There's no commissioner here, remembers that?
No.
No. You would.
Tell us a story.
It was
If you
bad.
were here, you would. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know, I was like, I came at the tail end of it, and then I heard stories about the number 4 going back and forth.
No.
That's their
So we,
standard.
Right, number 4. Because I remember, because when I came in, I was told that the ZBA worked on the language and gave the language recommendation to planning commission, and then I was like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. The language should be planning commission.
so it's one specific one that we worked on.
Yeah, number 4.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Number 4. I'm
not seeing what number 4 is.
That's okay.
Anyway,
It was
okay.
It was,
It was brutal?
that suggestion was also floated around at the meeting. How about we give the language recommendation, and then that was totally shot down.
No.
So the compromise was that working committee with 2 members, because we all need to stay in our lanes.
Oh,
Very George. Yep. So, land division ordinance, have we talked about that, or is that,
I think I kind of gave a little update on what that is.
do we need to talk about that anymore? It was,
the board didn't take it up, did they?
no, the board
No.
didn't take it up,
no,
No,
so
nothing to
it-
say.
it's,
Nothing to say.
the discussion is still,
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing to say.
okay. Then, next meeting agenda items. The list I have says, if the board gets to us lighting, correct? Lighting, if the board brings it to us.
Nuisance ordinance.
Yeah, nuisance ordinance, lighting.
But how could they do that? They have to do it at their meeting?
I mean, we have the minutes, I
They,
can take it.
they haven't given notification yet.
All right.
That's
So
what
they
we're
could do
waiting
that
for.
between meetings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The ZBA requests, we just talked about.
ZBA request, that would be a discussion item?
Yep. Historical Society, and,
I don't know if they'll be ready. I have,
well, we could always put it under old business, and then if they're not prepared with anything additional, I mean, with the holidays in here, who knows what's going to be done?
Yeah, but it wouldn't stay on the agenda unless they have completed the information, right?
I've been enlisting Rick and Martha's, poking their brains, enlisting their help, trying to be, so that they can be my data whisperers.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
let's just.
Normally, we wait till the
About that
application
range,
seems to
like
be
that.
generally complete.
I know, well, she's gonna check with the lawyer though and see.
Yeah.
I-
So-
Let's
oh, so
leave
you
it
might have
as,
a
let's
slot.
leave it as a
Okay.
placeholder.
Okay.
We can always take it off as the agendas. So land division, you think will come back by then?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I do.
We have a public hearing,
and we have our public hearing, correct?
and I thought both of you have said you want to get started on the annual report at some point.
She's giving me some information.
Oh, yeah, the ball's in my court.
Right. Yeah, no, she does a very good audit on what has been processed and sent to the board, where it stands, because she sees the board side that we don't see.
Yeah, that's good.
And so that is a good template for me to go, oh, yes, and then you're always good information. And by the way, this is done. Anything else anybody has?
Should we just go over the dates for 2026?
Yeah, we probably should.
Might
I
as
mean,
well.
we do, yeah,
Why wait?
yeah. Will the board have their dates set by that time?
No, March. March is when they will set their dates.
No, I know that,
Oh,
Can't we say it's the third Wednesday after
but, well, we
the third
can, but
Tuesday?
we did that this year, and then all of a sudden the board changed their meeting date. We had, what month was it? We had to
I
change
think,
it.
November.
I thought we refused to
November.
change it.
Well, yeah, we did. We lost. It was November.
I think there might just have been information might have been slipped through the cracks, so I'll be on top of it.
Okay.
I didn't realize the change after I saw it.
Okay. Any public comments then at this point?
Good evening, Peter Stevenson at 500 Trotters Lane. Just a quick comment, the Webster Historical Society has acted for many years, I think, as just a body that aims to engender fellowship and community here in our township. They operate on a pretty shoestring budget. Almost everything they do is volunteer, as Rick and others can testify to. I think that this body could show some of that same fellowship and recognize that they are a public good for this community. And I think this body could make it a little bit easier for them to try and hit their goals and facilitate them along the way. Thank you.
Anybody else? Do you have a report to provide tonight, sir?
Hi, I'm Brant Savinger, 5803 Vaughan Road. So I'll give you a fine print at the bottom of the email, so I speak for myself, I don't speak for the board. You know, as a resident, some of these comments, I wasn't planning to talk tonight, there's a bunch of topics that came up that I wanted to address. So your comment on management of our, the agendas for the board meeting is well taken. I'd like to see us personally start clustering low-hanging fruit items together so we can manage our business and tick those off so everybody can keep moving. You know, we've gotten hamstrung with, you know, weighty items that are, you know, ordinance intensive that you've been through it. Just takes time, where we should do a better job of blocking out time in the meeting so that happens. And there's been disagreement on what's on the agenda. And I was the one that made the motion to modify the agenda, and it was not for what Jeff said. That was part of it. The motivation for changing the agenda is how we're managing legal staff. I thought the way some of the comments that have been made about Fahey, I have talked to the attorneys about Fahey and management of the ZBA. It's often one attorney gives consulting gives legal services to a township. There's several townships across the state that use those. So you can imagine that same attorney might be helping on a zoning administration issue. Anytime there's a challenge to that goes to the ZBA, that attorney would also go there to provide legal guidance, but it's the ZBA that's doing the deliberations. And other bodies have no problem with that. Now, the point that Jeff made, I understand that. If we wanted to bring in somebody else, we could for the ZBA. But my intent was that that should be clearly defined well before the meetings. Fahey was notified the Tuesday before the ZBA meeting not to come. The Mariah Fink group was then asked to come instead. Mariah wasn't clear on what her direction was, and she ended up leaving the ZBA meeting after she did his job. So from my standpoint, it seems like a horrible waste of taxpayer dollars to manage the legal staff that way. But interestingly enough, also, the other was what Shelley talked about in the meeting is the group that we hired over from the Novi area. Anyway, there's an attorney that Mike has worked with in the past that we recently, the board gave approval to hire. Yeah, but the problem that arose is that Mike also conveyed to another board member that he asked that same attorney for personal legal advice on a recent matter, which is a clear conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And that was the reason we wanted to bring it up. I asked to put that thing on the agenda 2 weeks ago, and I was denied both times. I requested reconsideration in an email, was denied, so then I brought it up in the way you saw. On the other items, though, let's talk about, okay, your topic about wanting to help with outreach and website. My view on that is you guys should go for it. Looking for more direction from us. I'm happy to give that as a board member. At the same time, we already have agenda challenges. I know you're concerned that you may get stomped on if all of a sudden you do all this work and the board says, I'm not interested, I understand that, but I think in this context, in my view, that concern is minimal. The thing on lighting, you know, the board gives direction to the planning commission. The board, the best mechanism the board has for giving direction is a motion or a resolution. And we gave a motion on directing the planning commission to consider lighting a nuisance. And in my mind, what that was, and you already talked about it here with Dita, what lighting on a neighboring property would constitute a nuisance from one landowner? We considered it extensively, like in site plan review, churches, we started talking about it here with them. You know, if there's something that has a certain amount of lumens that's blasting out a neighbor, in my view, my personal view, that's a nuisance. If you put a shield on it and the light terminates before the boundary line, that would not be a nuisance. And that was kind of the extent. And you all are, you know, viewed as subject matter experts on the lighting topic based on what I've seen you review in the past. You brought it up in this meeting, in site plans, and so on. And that's all I would think you would need. Asking for a letter from the supervisor to direct you, I don't know if the supervisor even has the authority to do that. I think that's a board function, personally. What else? Oh, I agree with everything that Peter said on 99% of what the Historical Society is doing. Right up to the point where you're gonna have a wedding that's gonna be blasting people out at night. And that's where the event bar topics fail, and I think that's where the Historic Society should be aware of that issue and be careful if they're gonna trend into that. And I looked through all the paperwork again, alcohol, music, to 10 o'clock seems like a recipe. It really falls as a banquet. The banquet's clearly defined in our zoning ordinance is commercial. If they're gonna trend into commercial activities, I think that's probably where the line should be drawn, and that's what my view is, that's what I'd ask you all to make sure you consider. I think that's it. If not, I'll talk to you all in person, but in summary though, this other main point I personally want to convey, there has been disagreements on these boards here recently, and I'm fully aware that you're all donating your time effectively. And the only thing I ask is that we conduct our meetings with a certain level of decorum and respect for people on both sides, and then just respect the process regardless of what the outcome is. If everybody's respectful and follow the process, my view as a board member, you've checked all the boxes, even if I disagree with what the determination may have come up with. So thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? We only have two publics. What is it plural? Public?
Still public.
It's a non-count now.
I know. Being an English person. Informational items, does anybody have anything they'd like to offer besides the line?
I got one thing. Why you pointing at me? One thing is, I went on to do some training because they need 4 hours, right? So MJ training.
Yep.
And I couldn't find a class that I had for free. I had to pay for everything. So I called here looking for help. They checked to make sure I was still on the list, which I was. So I called Tom. Tom, why don't you call MTA? Smart move. So I called MTA. And they said, look, and I was reading the screen to her, and it says here, that I went to the right page, and it said, you're a member of a 24-25 application, whatever it says. It said for 24-25, and she goes, oh, I should say 25-26. That's why everything was expired. And I don't know if it was just for me, or if it was for all of you. And I don't know if she fixed it just for me, or if she fixed it for all of you. So check your MTA, make sure it says 25-26, you're a member of 25-26 enrollment or something, whatever it says. Because the 24-25 has expired, and that's why everything was listed as $25 fee. Maybe I tried to set up for something with money.
I can give you a little bit of an update on that.
Oh, okay.
Tony said she was gonna check with them and make sure that it was current, and particularly going into 26 for everybody. I haven't heard back from her yet on that. I suspect she was concerned about it.
You can do it yourself. You can go in there, and if it says 24-25, you can't sign up for anything that's you've paid for already. So.
And on that topic, that's one of my,
Oh, okay.
everybody got their 4 hours in and sent it to Tony, because when I checked her with her a week ago, every one of us has a file. She puts either the emails we send to her, I attended this, or a screenshot that shows you registered for it, or whatever. I checked and not everybody had 4 hours. All copy me on an email, it's like, yes. And by the way, our group was here this summer, that counts. So,
How much time was that?
yeah, I think it was 2
Yeah,
hours.
around
for my
half,
house.
I thought it was 1.5.
That was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It was in our minutes, how much it was worth.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, my point is, please get to them, because that is part of our report to the board, that we have fulfilled our obligation in our bylaws to do that.
I did use you guys as an example when I proposed the same for the ZBA to consider, to include that in their bylaws, to have some, continuing
Yeah.
training hours. And one of the items I proposed to them, I want to propose to you guys too, that now that we have a TV and all, I do have a subscription to American Planning Association as well. So if that's something, I can probably screen some of the training programs using my subscription, and if you guys want to do a lunch and learn, come over, gather here during lunch hour, and then do, watch something together for 45 minutes, talk about it for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think it depends on the topics.
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
one thing that, and I will say this, if you haven't gone out and looked at the courses on the MTA stuff, not all of them are like planning, there's intro to planning, but, Paul took one that's rural planning.
Yeah, a bunch of us took that one.
Yeah, that's my point, there's other stuff, or, it was Sharp or somebody I talked to. We work within the context of a larger world. Whether or not it's planning proper or ordinances, there are other things that impact us, like lighting or data centers or whatever. By the way, all you got the slides I sent to you for the data center seminar that the Eagle guys gave us?
No.
Yes.
When did you send that?
Oh, a month ago?
Maybe I did then. Okay, maybe I did.
Yeah. You don't have to print them out, but it
No.
was, and there's information on data centers in here. Quite honestly, based on what this guy in Iowa said, you can understand why certain areas in Michigan have been targeted, because they need lots of water and lots of electricity. Fortunately for us, we do not have a lot of water. They can't draw enough out of the Huron River up here to supply their needs. Downriver at Saline, they can.
Well, they have a municipal system
Right.
in Saline, because
So-
nobody can draw water during the
I know, stick a garden hose down there and Huron River Drive. But one of the things that was interesting to me, aside from those, because, we don't have the infrastructure even for electricity, and there's, it might come up. There is a low frequency noise that if we draft an ordinance, nobody thinks about. They're worried about the sound of the generator they can hear. But apparently there's like a 20 hertz rumble that never goes away and has caused health problems for people, hearing problems for people, but you don't hear it. It's just there. So they caution about writing an ordinance that includes that low frequency proviso in it. So anyway, it was very useful when I sent the slides to you guys. And Kay, you've done it before. Eagle is the one who put it on.
I was actually at the end for that.
Oh, were you?
I actually attended it, so now I remember what you're talking about.
And the other one that was just up, if you want to avail yourself, I was not able to attend. It was today at noon. The MTA had their annual legislative update going into next year. It's now archived. If anybody's, you can watch it anytime. You can apply an hour for next year to it, but it's out there now if you want to take a look at that too. Anything else anybody else has, Julie?
I just wanted to mention, we had gotten the email from Mike about volunteering and Shop with a Cop. I actually did that last week. It was very enjoyable, it was a great time. I worked with an officer I actually knew, and an EMU football player. And the 3 kids we worked with actually were local.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, it was a blast,
Cool.
so. if anybody wants to
Are
think about
those
doing it in
high
the
school
future.
kids?
No, it has to be between 1st to 6th grade.
I recently attended I'm also have to do 32 training hours every year for my AICP, so. So there was a class, the Atlanta Parks and Rec Commission, when they were trying to do a master plan, I thought it was interesting, that's why I'm bringing it up. They collaborated with high school students for their public engagement efforts. I took my notes, but it was very interesting, and then they said they got more input because they went through the kids, because the kids are motivated to bring more people in for the input, because if you don't involve them, the input they used to get were mostly from people who are retired or, very, very, very specific set of people, not all age groups, but when they collaborated through the high school kids, and then, made that part of their curriculum or a grading criteria, they were able to bring more people in. I thought that was interesting.
Okay, you had something else?
Also, data centers. So I think we may, in Webster Township, have the kind of power lines that would be needed to tap into for a data center. But the current, Dan Brown had told us that the current incentives require that you use municipal water, which we don't have, right? And so I asked him to send me I need verification. So I found a summary online of the laws, and he sent me the actual law. And it does favor municipal water, which means at the moment, we don't have any of that.
Right.
But there's talk in Lansing about stopping the incentives. So then there may be fewer applications, but they may expand to other areas. So my question for Paul is, you found this, it's very interesting. Do you have any comments about it, or?
It's funny, I just stumbled across that. The reason, I don't go around looking at the townships or anyone. It was a Scioto Township, it was on our agenda, and I'm gonna take a look at this. I was asked by a friend who belongs to a church in Scioto Township, they got development going in next to their church. And he wasn't playing here. He said, could you look at their ordinance and see what we should say at the planning commission meeting to protect the church property? So I went through their ordinance, but that's why I stumbled across that. So I just thought, well, I'll share with everybody, here's an example of what Scioto's doing for their data center ordinance. But
Because we did say at some point, we would talk about data centers and other things, and then have a discussion so we can decide, learn something about it, decide if we need to do anything about it, so that we're informed.
That's why I sent the slides to everybody.
Well, and there was an executive order signed about that, remember?
Yep, there was.
What?
There was an executive order signed about non-interference from local, state
Oh, yes,
stuff
that,
with regards,
yeah,
that could be all from the report.
Now,
yeah.
So that's something you want me to look into, provide a memo?
not yet.
No,
Okay.
we haven't,
Okay.
no, we're just chatting.
Okay, just take the shoot. Just let me know if you want. I agree with you. I don't feel the immediate threat or need, but I'm here if you guys need me to look into it.
Keeping tabs on things.
I have one last thing. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you all for your time and service. It is greatly appreciated. I think George put out a note a little while back about the quality of this working group versus others that some people have been on, and I am very proud and pleased to be a part of this. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
You have a motion for adjournment.
Oh,
Move to
that's right,
adjourn.
wait a minute. Jeff moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you again. Enjoy your holidays. Stay healthy.
Here you go, Sri.
Yeah.
You turn it off, right?
I even thought about it.
She didn't put your request.